All right. Well, this is the first episode of Brain Digestion. Chewing on Brains presents Brain Digestion. I'm Alan Lyons.
I'm Tim Plesner.
Tim Plesner.
Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy. You, are we going to refer to you as Tim or Timmy?
Most people call me Timmy, or more people call me Tim now than they used to, but I was always Timmy forever, long before South Park or anything.
Oh, yeah, I forget that's a character off of South Park. So yeah, this is the first time we've interacted with each other, as we were saying before we started recording here, or physically, I guess.
Semi-physically.
Yeah, as physical as this can be.
Yeah.
More than 6 feet apart. But we met in a group called Geek Life, and we constantly were having conversations, just snowballing off of just different ideas, and I just
blowing up those people's posts.
Yeah. And I just got kind of sick of it. I was like, if we can snowball off of ideas like this, we need to come up with our own original thoughts. And so that's why I came up with the group, which eventually renamed it Chewing on Brains. And then, kind of came up with like a zombie theme. But chewing on brains, like when you're having a conversation, they used to call it, an old term is chewing on the fat. And and we're sharing our brains.
Picking your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know we've kind of, my intent or my goal is I've always wanted to come up with a comic book company, create a comic book company. And, but I mean, we, different multimedia ideas. I know that Brian's come up with an idea for a TV show, and we've kind of snowballed off of this Black Ops group theme. I don't know if we want to reveal the name just yet, but I mean, we kind of different ideas for it, like for a comic book or a TV show or whatever.
Just pays homage to a lot of different mediums and stuff and different creativity sort of things, which is kind of what the whole group's about, is what's cool about it, I think.
Yeah, kind of just taking just one idea and then just, I mean, you can only go so far with your own brain, if you would, and then just putting our brains together and just kind of.
Yeah, well, if you've noticed how my brain doesn't seem to initiate well, but once somebody else mentions something, then it just goes crazy on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Savannah said, like the Black Sun thing, I was running with it for a while, then Savannah said something about it being Nazi, and then I'm like, oh, well, that's better for the bad guys.
Right.
And it like filled in a gap that I didn't have there yet.
So and it's funny, she said it was something to do with Star Wars, and then I've never heard that before until right now I'm reading What's that?
Oh, I said it barely sounded familiar. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, I've never heard that in the Star Wars. But then I'm reading a Boba Fett book, and they're talking about it in there. Now that she's mentioned it, now I'm hearing it, and I think they mentioned it on Star Wars Rebels. And
I mean, it just sounds like a cool name too. And then all the alchemy stuff, the historical thing of it before the Nazi stuff, was really cool and fit with what we were thinking and stuff. But it definitely works as the antagonist stuff.
Right. But I don't know. What are some of your thoughts on this chewing on brains, whatnot?
I mean, for one, it's just fun to do. Activates a different part of my brain or puts it to better use than just stewing about other stuff. I mean, we can still come up with ideas or talk about other people's projects and stuff, whether it's Marvel, DC, the kind of stuff that we used to do in Geek Life, but
right.
It also just kind of activates my brain a lot better. It's fun. Even if
the first thing that I saw from you in Geek Life that you put up was like something you and your kids were painting little figurines.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And I remember I did a couple of those like a few years ago, I'd find them at Dollar General or whatever, and I did a like a Robin one, give him a new cape and stuff. And then so when I seen that you did that,
Yeah, I think I remember you commenting on it, saying you did some. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean,
I remembered somebody doing it. It was a while ago, but yeah,
yeah.
that was you. That's cool.
But
I
I mean,
actually got
really,
a couple guys that I might try to make our guys with out of those.
oh yeah,
Characters.
right, yeah, that'd be neat.
Because I've told my kids a little bit about the stories and stuff, and
Oh yeah,
so a little bit about the characters and stuff, and they thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely more of an adult thing, and some of the homages are more boomer homages that are going on in my head than young audience too, which is why it kind of lends somewhat more to TV medium, and that's the way it plays in my head. But I mean, with the right lettering, the right pacing, different stuff, you can still pay homage to TV in a comic book, I think.
oh yeah. So
I'm just an 80s child, so and watched a lot of 70s stuff. So
yeah. Well, how old are you?
I was born in 82, so that makes me 38 now, I think, in March.
I had to think about that one.
I don't got enough toes and stuff anymore.
Okay.
I don't know what year my kids were born. I know how old they are, but I don't remember every time I go to fill out something with their birthday, I'm like 2000. Okay, yeah.
Text the wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was born in 86, so I just turned 34.
Oh, yeah.
So grew up a lot with 90s stuff.
Yeah.
And then early 2000s.
Cool.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get started into our topic. So I figured like each episode would be like how we started with Geek Life would be just take a topic and then just expand on it and discuss it, different things that have inspired us that have inspired us for our projects in Chewing on Brains. And so that particular post where I just got sick of it and was like, we got to start our own original thing. It was on X-Men and the MCU and how we thought it would be introduced. I think I even pulled up the post. Let me bring it up here.
I was at the one where we talked about like Dr. Doom and everything.
So I know, I remember Brian had posted something because he's always posting like insider stuff or whatever. And he had posted, I had picture on here, but I don't have it now, so I can't see it right now. But he always has insider stuff, and he posted something about Dr. Doom being in Black Panther 2. And that was I couldn't find that particular post, but this one right here where I was like, okay, we need to start our own group. His post was, I've been curious about this, and since we aren't doing anything else, since Magneto has an origin story dated to World War II, how would you like to see the MCU tackle his origin story to make it more modern? And then one of his first posts in the actual Chewing on Brains group, he asked if we'd like to see Magneto die a hero or a villain. I know Fox didn't do well, but I always liked how they viewed Magneto, more of an anti-villain as opposed to a full-on villain. So I guess if you want to go ahead and start on your thoughts on that, and I can add in my opinions and whatnot.
Yeah, the biggest question about what is Marvel going to do, or what I'd like to see him do, or kind of either side of that coin, is where is Xavier and Magneto? How are they going to fit in? Are they going to be all brand new? Or are the X-Men going to be teenagers? In 2000, I guess it would have, if it picks up at Infinity War, it would have to be 2023. I think is what I saw from the timeline. Because that's actually almost in our future now after the 5 years, technically.
Right. I know they're starting to, some of the movies like Shang-Chi is gonna, they're saying is gonna happen like during the snap, like gonna go back and.
Oh, good. I was hoping that's what they were gonna do to fill in some of that, because I mean, I talked about stuff like my biggest disappointment in Endgame was, and the leading up, whether it was marketing, was not seeing Rocket on Earth. Like, like if other shows, like, even in the background, you just see Rocket on Ellen, or something like that, just randomly, like, I would have seen more of that 5 year period. in
I
between.
think that was one of your posts, was like you had an idea for like a Rocket TV show.
Yeah.
Where he
Yeah, or
would,
something. I mean, well, like during the whole quarantine thing, it'd be cheap and easy little material that they could do. I think Black Widow said something about getting emails from a raccoon. You
yeah.
know, cheap, easy stuff that those celebrities, if they just get those little rights to do, could put out content to stick on a DVD later, do it for charity.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, just fill in. You know, I mean, even just rocket watching TV or movies that, you know, like Mystery Science Theater type
Yeah, I was gonna say,
stuff.
what was the name of
I
that
mentioned.
show? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that would, whatever, you know, something like that. Just, you know, a little caricature of Rocket Raccoon with Bradley Cooper voicing over, doing commentary with a guest star about movies that Peter Quill told
Right.
Rocket about, you know. And then
Exactly what
Kevin
we're
Bacon
doing
as
right
a guest
here.
star, you know. You know, just nerding out with it, you know, but from Rocket, like actual character perspective or something would be hilarious. It could be gold and super cheap to do. But
Right.
yeah, some of that stuff that wouldn't take much, just a little bit of thoughts that it's like, somebody do that idea, you know. But yeah, that whole time period, you know, going back to the Magneto, where X-Men are going to fit in, like I tend to like the idea of they were either there or in hiding the whole time. I'm not too thrilled about people's, you know, saying, oh, the snap created them
Oh
or something.
yeah.
Like, you know, like there's something metaphysical that happened that created mutants now all of a sudden in
Oh,
you know, modern
they kind of
continuity. But
they did that already with the Inhumans, like on Agents of Shield.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's like it feels like they'd just be regurgitating it.
yeah. So, and you know, I mean, it would. I mean, Agents of Shield, I guess now is kind of its own little multiverse
Like,
thing. I think it's not in, from what I heard.
yeah,
I lost track of that show after a little while, but they'd already done some
yeah,
time travel in that show too.
yeah,
So
they did. But like I like the first couple seasons, like the first season, they kind of wrapped it around Winter Soldier, and I love that.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah. When I mean, it was almost like, I mean, for the good or the bad of it, I mean, it makes more people have to watch the Marvel movies. You know, the next one that comes out,
right,
uh, regardless of their own merits or whatever. But Shield, the way it really tied into Captain America 2 was awesome. Like, you know, like it came out the same week and
yeah,
everything, and it just made it all tie. I mean, then after that, they just kind of forgot about Agents of Shield. But it really, you know, you don't have to reference. You know, the big movies don't necessarily have to reference the other ones too much, but the other ones, smaller ones, should do it. You know, and hopefully
right,
they can tie other characters in. But just, you know, part of it going back to the X-Men, where were the X-Men? Were the X-Men there? You know, when you actually look at there's a lot of movies out there. I mean, except for perhaps the Agents of Shield not knowing about mutants, you know, that would be the biggest plot hole. Why, you know, oh, no one would know about Charles Xavier and all these mutants out there. But
right.
for the most part, you just, you know, uh, we haven't seen, you know, just because it hasn't been shown on
Right.
film doesn't mean it doesn't
Well, and the
exist.
movies have done a really good job of retconning things.
Yeah,
Like they'll have a movie and then they'll show you, oh well, like the Ant-Man movies. They're like, well, actually, Hank Pym has been around since the '80s, and then they'll show you a
yeah,
scene where
yeah,
he interacted with like Agent Carter or something.
yeah, yeah, and you know, I mean, even like the Captain America thing, it's going back in time. It fits loosely enough that it could either be a totally different timeline or he was there the whole time in hiding, kind of thing,
Right.
and
Yeah.
just kept it on the DL or whatever because he knew he would mess things up worse. But yeah, like Xavier having the Institute there, you know, not being out in public superhero-ish, you know, obviously for maybe like the first class, so they can be maybe a little older. You know, you'd also be able to incorporate more characters in that way. You know, like if they, you know, like where the MCU really started taking off, you know, would have been 10 years ago, 2010, something like that,
Yeah, like
you know.
2009 or something, 2008.
Yeah, somewhere in there, if you know, if that was about the time when Xavier was getting the first class in as teenagers, you know, then they wouldn't have to be horribly aged, or you know,
Right.
like, you know, they could be mid-20s or something and be fine with it. Yeah, you
One
know.
thought I had was I'd like to see like, usually they start off, them being young and stuff. but I mean, I guess the first X-Men movie, you know, the main like Cyclops and Jean Grey and stuff, they were
Yeah,
like,
they were all like 30s.
yeah, they taught there and stuff. So I mean, I guess like, but like X Factor was like the original team, but they reunited and they're a little bit older, and so
Yeah.
you kind of had that thought. But then I remember, oh well, the first X-Men movie kind of did that, kind of did the X Factor thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to see would be like, um, not necessarily come out right away with an X-Men movie, but like you see different X-Men pop up here and there. Like they're saying
Yeah.
Rogue possibly might be in Captain Marvel too as a villain.
And they did that with a lot of the other characters, Black Panther and Black Widow and stuff.
Yeah, kind of popped them in there and stuff and then kind of teased them into their movie. But like you kind of see them here and there, and then maybe like a post-credit scene here and there, you would see like Xavier going around and recruiting them, kind of like how Coulson and Nick Fury did in the original, in the beginning MCU movies. And then you know he'd be going around recruiting them, and then the X-Men movie would come out and be like the giant-sized X-Men comic, where you know you have that new team of X-Men, and he's like, yeah, I've traveled around the world and I've talked to these different mutants, and now I've assembled this team.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a big part of the X-Men thing was, you know, the idea of it being a school kind of first primarily. So, I mean, you know, a few of the characters, you know, some of the main initial ones, like I kind of like Beast being a little older, you know,
Right.
like the way he was in those other ones, you know, and just, you know, in both of the other ones, he was almost more of a contemporary of Charles's rather than a total student, you know, as compared to the comic books. And even in the animated series, it seemed that way too, to an extent.
Yeah.
And like I loved Kelsey Grammer as Beast originally because it really mirrored the cartoon series a lot.
Yeah,
You know, just kind of
definitely.
his attitude, the way he spoke, and everything.
Yeah,
But you know, maybe a few of the mutants be the ones that he took under his wing and are a little bit older than most of the ones that he has now. You know, now would be one way to kind of so it's not just like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm starting my mission of rounding up mutants, but it's kind of been established a little bit, you know, not to like a big extent.
Like
And
he's been doing this for a while, but
yeah,
but now there's this threat that we gotta.
yeah, or this threat, or even the opposite of a threat, like they were. I said something along the lines of, you know, the heroes had come out, people with superpowers had come out and saved the entire world. So now there's an opportunity for them to be in the open a little bit more, you know,
Right.
rather than in hiding and everybody afraid of them. You know,
Yeah.
like, oh, superheroes reunited me with all my loved ones and everybody that we lost, you know, they saved, you know, so now we're not completely afraid of you anymore,
Right.
you know, or they at least think that's a little window about, but then there's still going to be haters out there and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Marvel's always kind of interesting how it's like, oh, we hate you because you were born that way, but we love you guys because you got blasted by cosmic rays.
You look neat.
Yeah.
So do you think they should go ahead and use Magneto again like they've done before? Or you think they should like bring in a new villain, like say Mr. Sinister or something?
I mean, it's hard to do. I mean, Magneto's. I mean, he's done well in both series, like both actors who did him well already. And you know, you don't want to rehash the same stuff over and over again. But it's kind of hard to do Xavier without Magneto. You know, it's kind of there's a certain dynamic there, and definitely maybe not right off bat. You know, stay away from Magneto initially.
I think if they're gonna do it where he's been around for a while and had his school for a while, maybe just say that I've butt heads with Magneto in the past, but right now he's doing his thing with Genosha or something. And this movie, and then maybe like a couple movies down the road, then Magneto comes back and is like, okay.
Yeah, if something big happens in the MCU that is really kind of a eugenics, anti-mutant sort of thing, then that could bring Magneto out as a villain, you know, would be a way to do that. And we, like on the one thread we talked about, okay, you know, doing the time frame, you know, we're really far removed time frame wise to have people be Holocaust survivors anymore. But you know, I think even in the Yeah, in the X-Men series, cartoon series, they made it seem a little bit more like some other third world nation that was oppressing his family, and stuff. But like I'd gotten into, well, are they going to introduce Doctor Doom and the Doom family? The Doom family could be a whole extension of a good way to introduce Doctor Doom. And I always forget Latveria.
Yeah, Latveria.
Yeah. Good way to kind of introduce that would be maybe in a more historical context, almost some kind of a little bit of an opposition that Wakanda maybe had faced before. And that could help seal up some loopholes of like Wakanda not helping out during World War II and stuff that really bother me. If there was at least something there that could have opposed them to, because it always kind of makes it, and if Doom's family in the past had been, if not Nazis, Nazi sympathizers, but still had some source of power, that, Wakanda would have been fearful enough of, and maybe that would have been something that propelled Wakanda to start creating more technology and stuff that they hadn't before, and using the vibranium in newer, different ways and stuff since then. Because, I just hate it that it's like, World War II happened and Wakanda just, okay, we're fine. Like, I always like bringing up the idea that if Rommel had Hydra tech, Wakanda would have probably got off their asses.
Oh.
Yeah. But other than that, like the bad guy in Black Panther he may have took it just a little too far, but he was kind of right. And even, and the main character, T'Challa, he didn't like the way his family and heritage had dealt with problems too, so he was proponent.
The thing with Killmonger, I loved his whole arc in there. Like he was born from nothing, and then he finds out how has this whole, his relatives are over living fat and rich over there, and then he's like, what the hell,
Yeah, he took it more, like racial or something, but which he was right to do too, but just in general, like I always think, well, the Holocaust still had, if they were even remotely technologically advanced then, but maybe if they do a little bit, that would have been more like T'Challa's grandpa or great grandpa, who would have been king during that, and if that was something that, if they can show that was, maybe before that they hadn't really ramped up the technologies and stuff yet, it would make a lot more sense to me. And if there's some kind of, if you took Doom's family and made them, and Latveria made them kind of a counter to Wakanda throughout some years,
going back to,
and then also a little bit of counter to, maybe that's where Magneto grew up. He was oppressed by Doom's family, or his people were, or something, and there could be a whole dynamic there instead of the Nazis, but also still be a somewhat extension of Nazis if Doom's grandparents or whatever had connections with him too, to not completely throw out the Holocaust, genocide type stuff that are, at the core of Magneto's character.
Right.
But
I remember there was a thread, I don't remember, I think it was on the whole Doom being in Black Panther 2. Somebody had brought up where it could be like, what happened during the snap, and how, there's less of a population and world leaders being gone, where Doom took that advantage, and he just
power vacuum sort of thing.
Yeah. And then that brought him in to butt heads with Wakanda, trying to take that over. And then how the whole rumor with Namor being in there as well, kind of a three-way kind of deal with Atlantis and whatnot.
Yeah. I forgot about Namor and Atlantis in there. Atlantis also being some kind of buffer with Wakanda would really help just seal up some of that. Like I said, the thing that bothers me with Wakanda is World War II.
And then maybe you would have like Magneto would already have Genosha at the time, and
yeah, if that was some kind of free zone that he took him to out of Latveria and stuff. Could, if something. Some of that stuff I'm not as Genosha. Some of that stuff, my Marvel stuff doesn't go too far into that, but
That'd
But
also be a good way to introduce Storm because, everybody's like, well, when is Storm and Black Panther going to hook up? Well,
oh yeah,
she was like, there was some stories where she was like the queen of an African nation because they worship her as a god because, she controlled the weather. And that could be like another nation in there that they oppose with.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, they could seal up some threads and stuff there with if you involve and also include Magneto or at least include the idea of mutants and suppression and stuff in history in there with that too.
Right. All right. Well, I think this would probably be a good place to kind of end the episode. Kind of don't make it a little too long, for people to listen to.
Yeah.
But so there's some good thoughts there to chew on.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest thing is it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, the creative minds or the real fans and stuff, they get ideas in their heads. It's like, this is exactly what I want to see, and anything less is disappointing or something. And you kind of go down a rabbit hole and you explore ideas and hopes and wishes too much, and then they won't pan out as well.
And then that's where I was like, well, we're using this all this brain energy, coming up with ideas for something that we may not ever get to make.
Yeah.
But hey, on the other side of the coin,
or if it does pan out, then finally we get that little,
yeah,
like, yes, I told you so. But,
right.
the one idea that does come to fruition.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Timmy.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Hopefully we can.
We'll have to do it again, and even throw out. I mean, do a Zoom or something just to jabber about our stuff.
Yeah.
Projects and stuff.
This was really, really fun to do this, and finally get to see you face to face and talk.
And then some of the stuff that I can't quite type out on paper, different ideas for characters, looks, different stuff too. Might be easier to do.
Yeah.
Do that way. But,
I mean, sometimes it's easier just to talk it out than try to, come up with the right words to make it.
Yeah, or waiting in time for the next reply and all that stuff too.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, by the time people be listening to this, I'd like to thank everybody for whoever was listening to this, and join us again for the next episode. I don't know what we'll talk about, but I guarantee it'd be something nerdy.
Yep. All righty.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.